All right, guys, welcome back to another video. So yesterday brought a surprise announcement from Xbox that now sets up a very exciting week for all the Xbox fans out there as they announced the Xbox Partner Preview. So this is a brand new thing. I don't think we've seen this before where they have those smaller showcases. They're kind of going along the lines of PlayStation when they have their smaller showcases and the Nintendo Direct when they have their smaller 20-minute or so ones. This is going to be pretty much exactly like that, but here is what it is. It is the Xbox Partner Preview, and they say this new show format will deliver a fresh mix of indie games and familiar favorites from our third-party partners like Ryuga Gotoku Studio, Remedy Entertainment, Studio Wildcard, and others, with more than 20 minutes of trailers and new gameplay footage. It's going to be on Wednesday, October 25th at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So it's not one of these shows where you're going in there expecting their big first party games with gameplay and release dates for that, or announcements of games that we haven't really heard too much about yet. This is going to be something that shows us games that are going to be coming out rather soon that we're going to be able to play on Xbox. Now, there is some interesting stuff here because we do have info on some of the games that we will see, like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, a launch trailer for Alan Wake 2, which that one's kind of curious because that game is going to be coming out 2 days after this showcase. And you have to ask yourself, why are they showing a launch trailer at this brand new Xbox Partner Preview unless maybe there's something up? And I know this is all just speculation, but my fingers are crossed that this is where there's going to be a huge surprise announcement. And this isn't just some sort of marketing deal where what Remedy paid Xbox to be in this show so that people could see the game and they get excited for it and then go out and buy it 2 days later. My fingers are crossed here that maybe we're going to see some sort of Game Pass announcement with Alan Wake 2, and that's why this game is showing up. And I mean, if it doesn't, it's still a game I'm going to be playing because it looks incredible. I enjoyed the first one, but I'm really hoping this is a major surprise that they have at this show. They're also going to be showing off the first gameplay for Ark Survival Ascended, and then a dive into the social world of Dungeons of Hinterberg, and then more stuff that obviously we're going to see when we watch the show. Dungeons of Hinterberg, I'm actually very excited for. It's a game that was shown off at the Xbox showcase earlier this year. So very cool to see. I think this is a great idea here from Xbox. There's going to be always the negativity when you do these smaller showcases because people are going to have these insane expectations. They're going to go into them thinking that we're going to get these crazy announcements that we didn't hear about. We're going to see gameplay of a first party Xbox game. Like maybe people are thinking we're going to see Hellblade 2 or something at the showcase, all that type of stuff that never shows up at these smaller showcases. You see the exact same thing happen when PlayStation has theirs and Nintendo have theirs, when they clearly have come out and said they're only going to be showing things like third party content. People always are expecting first party stuff, but I think this is still overall a very, very good idea to keep the marketing continuously going. Xbox is at a point right now. I mean, they've turned the page. They're going straight up, I think, in my opinion, after this ABK deal, after what we've gotten in 2023 with Starfield and Forza Motorsport and Hi-Fi Rush and just everything else that the ecosystem has provided for us. They're at a point where they've definitely captured mindshare. They've definitely captured people's attention and they can't let that go. They need to stay at the top of mind of gamers. And there isn't a better time to have this, especially after a week where everybody's been talking about SpiderMan 2 and everybody's been talking about Super Mario Wonder. Here's Xbox coming out and doing something that we haven't seen them do in the past, and probably because they didn't have the content to be able to do this. But they're coming out here and saying, don't forget about Xbox. We've had an incredible year and it's not over yet. There's still 2 months left of nonstop content that you're going to be able to play on the Xbox ecosystem. So I think it's a great move. And going into 2024, I hope they do a couple of these during downtimes after maybe a month where a first party game just came out the previous month, but there isn't a big one for the next month. Maybe this is something they throw in there to remind people of some other games that you're still going to be able to play and how there's still a ton of content coming up. So I'm excited for this. Again, that's going to be on Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 20 minutes, and we'll see some great games that they're going to be showing off. Now, when it comes to Xbox's first party games, one of their biggest releases this generation has been Forza Horizon 5, and they've hit another milestone number here where they have over 34 million players since its initial launch, which I think is just insane how many people are actually playing this game or have played this game and are continuously playing this game 2 years down the line and probably will be playing this all the way up until Forza Horizon 6 gets released. So awesome stuff here to see from Playground Games. And I think this is definitely a testament as to the Xbox strategy and how they can get so many people playing these games by releasing their games in the ecosystem across multiple platforms. If this game didn't release on PC and didn't release on PC day one, we wouldn't see these 34 million players. If it wasn't in Xbox Cloud Gaming, you probably wouldn't see the 34 million. And obviously, if it wasn't on Xbox, which it will be, it always will be because it's a first party game, all of these three things together is what allows these games to reach 34 million players. And I think that number will continue to go up. And it's a stark contrast here from the PlayStation strategy, which we'll talk about further on in the video, as we did get the sales numbers in the first 24 hours for Spider-Man 2. But I want to end off with some Xbox content before we get to that. And let's talk about the Golden Joystick Awards, where the Ultimate Game of the Year award has 3 Xbox games in the nomination. So it's good to see they're finally getting some recognition and getting recognition here in a phenomenal year where they've continued to release high quality, great games. You got Starfield, Forza Motorsport, and Hi-Fi Rush all in the list of nominees for the Golden Joystick Awards Ultimate Game of the Year. And it's an insane year of games. It's going to be very, very hard to win Game of the Year with the amount of stuff that has come out, the amount of good stuff that has come out. But out of these 3 games that I've released, of course, I love Starfield. It's an incredible experience. I'm enjoying Forza Motorsport, but Hi-Fi Rush to me is that game that I really hope in the Golden Joystick Awards and in the Game Awards in December gets a fair amount of recognition. I think it deserves to win awards in many different categories. I think it should definitely be nominated for Game of the Year, although I don't know if it will be at the Game Awards. But I really hope it does win something and gets recognition, because it is a game that shadow dropped. Nobody saw coming. It's a unique game with the combat, the music, the characters, the graphics, all of these things that you love to see from new IPs in the gaming industry. And if it doesn't get recognition, I think it'll be an absolute shame. So hopefully Hi-Fi Rush gets all the awards it deserves, and hopefully people don't forget about it, because it did release at the beginning of the year. And I feel like when it comes to these awards showcases, there's a lot of recency effect that does go on, where there are games that just came out that everybody is talking about and they vote for it and they forget about the stuff that released early on in the years. But good to see Xbox here with 3 nominations for the Ultimate Game of the Year award. And if you think about going forward into 2024 and beyond, with the amount of first party studios that they do have with Activision Blizzard coming in, probably expect to see Xbox games showing up in many more award categories consistently now going forward. All right, so that's the Xbox news. Let's talk about some PlayStation stuff, because we got a lot of PlayStation news that happened yesterday. And let's start off here with Spider-Man 2. So PlayStation put out this announcement. They say, great news, Spidey fans. Marvel's Spider-Man 2 PS5 has sold more than 2.5 million copies in the first 24 hours. Thanks for making this a high-flying launch. And they say that this is the fastest-selling PlayStation Studios game in PlayStation history. Now, when I first saw this, and I still think this though, that I think 2.5 million copies in 24 hours is a phenomenal number. I think Spider-Man 2 is very successful and will continue to sell far more than 2.5 million copies, from the fact that it got great reviews. It's Spider-Man. The IP itself is extremely popular across the board, even if you're not a PlayStation fan. Those things are mainly, I think, going to push this game forward to selling millions and millions more. But 2.5 million in 24 hours being touted as the fastest selling PlayStation Studios game is an interesting claim to be made. As we see this here from Steven Totilo saying, it's impressive. Spider-Man 2 sold 2.5 million copies in 1 day. Sony's fastest selling could be, but the standard changes. So they've done this with multiple of their first party games, where they change how they measure what is their fastest selling game. You have examples here. Spider-Man, the first one, sold 3.3 million in 3 days. So they use the 3-day measure. Last of Us Part 2 sold 4 million in 3 days. Again, the 3-day measure. And then God of War Ragnarok sold 5.1 million in 5 days. So is it the fastest selling? I guess we will see in 3 days if it's sold more than 4 million. And then we will see if it's more than 5.1 million in 5 days. Maybe just over the first 24-hour period, it has sold more than any other game, but will it be able to keep up that trajectory? I'm not sure. I think overall, since this game is a PlayStation 5 only game, I will be surprised if it does sell more than some of these other ones just because of the overall install base. And the reason I say that is that when we talk about first party exclusives, I know fanboys on the PlayStation side try to make people believe that first party PlayStation exclusives are the end all and be all of everything video games and everything PlayStation. It's the main reason why people go out and pick up the PlayStation console. And that is not true whatsoever. You look at 2.5 million in 24 hours, incredible number, but still a very small percentage of the actual install base of the PS5. You look at the numbers of many of their other first party games, it is the minority of people actually picking up and playing these games, where the majority of people on PlayStation are playing third party games, playing games like Call of Duty. So we'll see if Spider-Man 2 is going to be able to change that narrative. I highly doubt it. It'll probably stay within the 12 to 13, maybe 14% range in terms of the installs, and comparing it to the install base and the amount of people that actually went out and purchased the game. It has the Spider-Man IP, which does give it that extra, I guess, attraction to a broader range of people, because obviously Spider-Man, one of the most popular superheroes in history, that's going to help getting people to be interested in it. But we'll see overall how it works out. And if it does sell more than God of War Ragnarok, that was also released on the PS4. So overall just has a larger install base. And you look at these numbers and you compare it to something like Forza Horizon 5, which has 34 million players. And when you're looking at the two different strategies, I think it's pretty apparent that that strategy of that Xbox has is the stronger strategy here to get more people playing their games and to be more successful in the long run. And PlayStation is clearly making moves to be more like Xbox, with them expanding out on their PC, expanding out in their mobile, diving more into the cloud streaming and trying to get a service that will be able to eventually compete with Xbox cloud gaming. With how expensive it is to make these games, even 2.5 million in one day may not be something that cuts it for these studios going forward in order to get a sufficient return on investment. And we kind of see some fallout from PlayStation, even just right after they released such a successful launch with Spider-Man 2. It started last night or 2 nights ago. David Jaffe put out some tweets here about some major PlayStation news that was going to be happening yesterday, and nobody really knew what it was. However, it hasn't, I don't think, been confirmed by the media yet, but I mean, essentially we can say that this is going to happen and eventually will be confirmed. And David Jaffe posted this: sad, frustrating, potentially super disrespectful news dropping tomorrow about PlayStation if my sources are correct. I talk around it in this members only video, but in less than 24 hours, I'm sure the journalists will get hold of it and tell the tale. It's not a lock, but these two sources both work at PlayStation, have never once been wrong in sharing what they are. If it's true, man, let's just say, no matter what you do, never ever buy the idea that your work is your family and the company is your life. And if true, I don't have the details as of why, but I can imagine the Sony we all came up with is mostly dead. Doesn't mean the new Sony is bad at all. Loving Spider 2, but it just means, yeah, sad times. And what he is referring to is Connie Booth has reportedly left Sony, and we have no idea any more details on that. But this is the information that we do have, as David Jaffe actually did put it out there publicly, that Connie Booth being one of the main reasons that people love PlayStation, because we take a look at her work. And I have to say, looking at this list of games that she has worked on, it really does make me reminisce on the older PlayStation back in the day when they had more IPs and they didn't just focus on solely the third-person action, narrative, cinematic style of games. They just had such a great variety of games. It just really isn't there anymore. Look at games like Infamous and SOCOM and Sly Cooper, the Resistance, like so many great games that they had in their catalog that we just haven't seen in forever. And she was a credit on a ton of these games and major roles like vice president of product development, head of internal production, again, vice president of production development, senior director of the product development studio for games like Sly Cooper, Resistance, even Spider-Man, and most recently and stuff. So she apparently is leaving. I mean, we don't really have any more details other than that, but this comes via David Jaffe, who is saying that she is being axed, or the axe is falling, which you would assume means she may have been let go. She may have been fired because PlayStation may not be performing up to the standards that they need them to perform in terms of a ROI investment, our return on investment metric. That would be the main reason why probably these people get let go. And I mean, Jim Ryan left, retired. Who knows if that's actually the truth or not? Maybe he just left as well, was pushed out the door because they wasn't going in the direction they needed to go. And maybe this is now a turning point for PlayStation, where either they're going to go back and try to get more variety in their games, or they're going to do a complete shift. What I think is probably going to happen, we're kind of seeing the writing on the wall here, is they're going to be trying to become a media company, or be branded more as a media thing than just a gaming brand, with their movies and their TV shows and their video games, and putting that all together, releasing their movies and TV shows in the subscription service would probably help them as well. All of those things I think PlayStation is going to try to do going forward. But this could be signifying a major change coming forward for PlayStation, as they still are looking for their new head of SIE with Jim Ryan gone, and currently Hideroki Totoki filling in the gap, but they will obviously be hiring somebody new in the future. So interesting there. A lot of people thought the news was going to be different than this, maybe something much bigger, but of course it was something to do with an executive and employee leaving. And that's always something that will change the actual face and the actual internal development of what's going on there at PlayStation Studios, especially since she's had a huge role in so many games going forward. Finally, let's end up here talking about Spider-Man 2, because we've heard the bugs debate. I mean, we talked about it in my video yesterday as well. I think it's absurd that people believe that all of the bugs out there, majority of the bugs people are seeing on social media, are forced bugs. Of course, they're not forced bugs. There are bugs in almost every game that gets released now in 2023, and Spider-Man 2 is absolutely no different than what we've seen with other games out there. Doesn't mean it's a bad game by any stretch of the imagination, but this one here, I don't know how they made this mistake, but they did, and they are going to be fixing it. They accidentally used the Cuban flag for both Miles and his mother Rio in their home because they're Puerto Rican. They mix up the Cuban flag with the Puerto Rican flag, and a lot of people caught this. A lot of people laughed about it. We have some tweets here saying, looks like Insomniac mistakenly have the Cuban flag instead of the Puerto Rican flag in Spider-Man 2. Here's a picture of Miles Morales walking inside his apartment. I hope Insomniac Games can fix this soon. The odd thing, later in the game, you can unlock his suit that has the Puerto Rican flag. You have the Sony, PlayStation, Insomniac Games. Hello, Insomniacs. You did an amazing job in Miles representing the Puerto Rican culture. In Spider-Man 2, you've replaced the Puerto Rican flag with the Cuban. We would love for the flag to be updated to accurately represent Puerto Rico. Loving Spider-Man 2, but I think y'all got some flags mixed up. We have, did you notice that in Spider-Man 2, they messed up the flag in the house and put the Cuban flag instead of the Puerto Rican flag? And it goes on and on and on. Everybody noticed this. Obviously, this was just a mistake. Whoever was looking at this, and somehow this got through QA. Nobody noticed that this was the wrong flag, but a crazy, funny, hilarious mistake to make, as one of the main things for this game is obviously representing to Puerto Rican culture with Miles Morales with a Cuban flag. But they're going to fix it. But I just want to talk about that because it was pretty funny. But I'm going to end the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up. If you are new here, hit that subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.